Sex should be spontaneous. Y'all
Mm.
ought to be making love on the roof, in the bathroom, on the
Mm-mm.
kitchen counter.
Oh Lord.
Every
Welcome to another episode of the That's Scary with Melanie P podcast. It is episode 2 of our love month. And when I tell you, I am excited about this episode. I feel like this episode shows that I have arrived because I have a special guest that I am just listen. This is everything. I have a special guest, Miss Joyce Sinclair. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I
Yes,
am
and
doing fine.
okay, you doing good?
Yep.
Nice, nice. Listen, so this is our week 2 of our February Love Week. And when I tell you the first episode was great, but this episode is going to be even better. So if you have listened to the episode and listened to these shows before, I know that you know that we start every episode with a mental health check-in. Miss Joyce, how are you doing today? How are you doing? How's your mental health today?
Mel, I am doing absolutely fine. You know, age has some things that comes along with it,
Hmm.
and sometimes I deal with them, and sometimes I try to ignore them. When you get a certain age, what happens is that your mind thinks one thing and your body tells you
Mm,
something else.
Jesus.
So today, my mind and body kind of mesh together, and I'm feeling
Oh,
pretty good.
okay.
But there are days when, hey, I feel like a young woman, but that body tells me I'm an old lady.
I feel the same way. Listen, I feel the same exact way. Last week I went to a event and I had on heels, and when I tell you I'm still paying for it the week after, like my knee is hurting so bad still from 2 weeks ago from walking in them hills. I said, if this is what getting old is like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is really, really crazy. But me, as far as my mental health, well, you know, I like to be raw and transparent and honest. I am going through it right now. Like, it is so crazy. This episode cannot come at a better time because these men just be getting on my nerves. But mental health wise, I am doing good. I have no complaints. Listen, tomorrow is Friday. So listen, nothing to me is better than the day before Friday other than Friday. Okay? So listen, we have a special show. We have a special episode and we're talking about everything love. So again, in the first episode, we had Coach Keish on, and she was just talking to us about kind of her definition of love. And one of the things that I want to be very intentional about with the podcast is bridging the gap between Black love couples. If you listen to a lot of the podcasts that are out now, I kind of feel like we are all on that wavelength of toxic relationships. And I just don't want to be on that same energy. And I think it's very important that we discuss, you know, things to keep our relationship healthy. And who else better than to hear it from but then somebody? How long have you been married, Miss Joyce?
August will be 59 years.
59 years. Were those 59 long years or 59 short years?
Honestly, to be honest, they
Mm-hmm.
have been very good years, so they've been
Mm.
short.
Oh.
Uh, I would never imagine. Now, all of it wasn't good times. Now, we had some rough times in there,
Right.
but basically, they were pretty good
Mm,
years.
nice. Now, we're going to be talking about everything love and relationship and 59 years of marriage. Tell me this, what makes a great marriage and what makes a marriage to sustain for 59 years? Take a deep
Well, I'll
breath.
tell you the truth. I honestly, when you first get involved,
Mm-hmm.
that woman usually has to give about 80% because that man is not going to give but about 20. But as the time goes by, if
Mm-hmm.
you pass that first 10-year mark,
Mm-hmm.
then you got it made. But if you don't, hey, you may as well go on and give it up.
10-year
But
mark?
10-year mark.
God, I heard the 5 year mark, but I ain't never heard of the 10. That's a long time. Most people don't even make it 2 years.
Y'all don't make it
Lord.
10 years, 2 years.
Mm.
But my generation made it past the 2 years. That was basically because we were raised like that.
Right, right. That makes sense.
Um, yeah, we were raised to be a little more accepting than you guys have been.
Mm.
Yeah, you guys don't tolerate too much of nothing.
Shots
And
fired.
sometimes I get envious of you guys' demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I should have been the same way, but I
Wow.
wasn't. So I'm in what I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
and I have gotten complacent with what I have.
Wow.
And we made a go of it.
Mm.
He's happy and I'm happy most of the time.
Okay. Wow. That now that's some interesting wording. You made a go out of it. That is some interesting wording. 10 years. 10 years and you made out of so when you said that, you're kind of envious of us, what do you mean by that?
Now, because y'all don't take no trash. I mean, honestly, your generation, like, hey, if you get in it and you don't like it in within 6 months, hey, you kick him to the curb.
Wow.
Like y'all say it. But with us, we didn't throw them away right away. We worked with them.
Wow.
We tried to figure out what we could do to make it better. And most of the time it was the female giving 80, the man giving 20. Now that's the way it started off in my marriage.
Right.
But I'm telling you, after all these years, it's starting to turn around. You'll see it basically working and turning around, wherein the percentage change, where he's giving a whole lot more and
Mm.
you're giving a lot less. You'll find that, and that's what happened with me and my marriage.
Mhm.
Because right now, I would say he gives about 85%, and I give about 15.
Wow. Wait, but so we have to wait 10 years for that? What?
50 years.
Oh
He too
my
old.
God.
He too old to do anything else.
Lord Jesus, Lord
Oh,
Jesus. I thought this was gonna give us some hope, but I don't know. So far, I feel like I don't know. Oh my God. Okay.
oh my
So let
goodness.
me ask you this because this is a recurring discussion. This is a recurring conversation amongst like my peers. And it's the topic and the conversation of 50-50. And a lot of women are saying that they're not trying to pay half of no bills. They're not trying to pay any bills. They feel like if you're a man, you should be the provider. You should be paying for everything. And the woman, they're not for no 50-50. Was that a conversation and a topic from y'all's generation? And if not, do you agree with like women's stance on that today?
From when I was growing up and got married,
Mm-hmm.
then the husband was the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to finances, we all the money went in one pot,
Mm.
and it was divvied out of that one pot.
Okay.
Now, but my mother always told me it was a poor rat that didn't have but one hole. So that meant that you,
What? It's
I'm
hold on, wait.
sorry.
It's a poor rat that doesn't have but one hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means that most rats, when they got more than one place to go and get out of a situation, and so you would always have your little savings account somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Maybe you wouldn't take the predominant amount of the money that you were making,
Right.
but you would take something and put it to the side for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But the question was the 50-50
Mm-hmm.
thing. It depends on the individuals, you know. The man, if you got a man and you know his heart,
Mm-hmm.
and his heart is about doing the right thing,
Mm.
and you feel like you can trust him, then that's a good thing. You can do 50-50 with him. But some of them ninjas out there you can't do 50-50 with. I mean,
Wow.
and you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know it. Nobody needs to tell you that this person is not to be trusted. You can't put your whole heart and your whole paycheck in this thing,
Mm,
and they not doing right.
wow. So
So,
I had my niece on an episode about 2 episodes ago, and listen, sorry, money, I'm gonna tell your business. Now she's 24, and she is or was dating a man who basically was driving her car and really didn't have a job for the most part. Now it sounds like you was just saying if a man means well and you know his heart, then you should work with him. Can you explain that? Because I feel like she would hear that and she would be like, okay, she's working with this man. But what should we work with and what shouldn't we work with?
well, a lot of times now, the first law of nature is self-preservation,
Mm,
and you know this.
yeah.
But there are times when, if you're compatible with somebody and
Mm-hmm.
you know that they would consider you before they consider themselves, then you can work with that person. But if
Mm,
they don't give you first priority, they never will.
right, I agree.
And there's no sense in you wasting your time and your energy with that individual.
Mm. Now, a lot of these men nowadays, they will make you first priority, but they might want to be driving your car or having you pay the majority of the bills. So so you're saying as long as they put you first, it's okay.
No, 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 no. When they put you first, that means that they got their own car. That
mm,
means that they're helping with the bills or they're paying the majority of the bills.
mm,
You know, you don't want to put it all on him,
right.
but he can't be leaning on you either. I
Mm,
mean, he can't be taken from the bank
right.
and
Right.
not making any deposits.
Mm, wow. My oldest brother always says, make sure that you are getting a return on your investment. Like that was
Investment.
some of the best advice he's ever given me. He was like, in anything, but especially in relationships, make sure that you're getting a return on your investment. And I ain't looked back since. I have not looked back since. So listen,
Very, very
yeah.
good advice.
Yes, very good
Very
advice.
good.
Now you said something about a rat in a hole. What was that again?
I said, I say it's a poor rat that ain't got but one hole.
Okay. So my mom always says to me that her grandmother told her that a half a loaf is better than no loaf. Have you heard of that saying? And if you have, do you agree?
I've heard of that, and I do not. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. Be- because I mean honestly, when it comes to, it may apply to some other
Mm-hmm.
areas of your life, but when it comes to relationships and a man, you don't want a half a man and you can have a
Mm.
whole man.
Wow.
You don't.
Yeah.
So I mean, some areas of your life it may apply,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to relationships it does not.
Wow. So, she said that to me several times, and I don't know what she's trying to tell me, but when she says that, I know, like, as a mother of a daughter, I feel like, and kind of just seeing what's out there or what's not out there, I think that her mindset is, would you rather be out there in the streets searching for what you just said, like a whole loaf, or would you want to make, something out of the half a loaf that you have? So you're saying that you don't agree with that?
No, I
Yeah.
do not agree with it,
Wow.
because I would rather have no loaf at all than to have a man to validate me. I don't
mm.
need I don't need a man to tell me who I am and what I'm about
Mm-hmm.
and what I can do and what I cannot do.
Right.
And you're a woman out here working and struggling and trying to make it. You
Yeah.
don't need this man to validate you and tell you who you are and what you
Right.
can do.
Right. I agree.
You
I agree.
you just don't need it. I mean, and then your generation is so successful in their endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we were growing up, we graduated high school, and um the next thing you know, we was looking at getting married and
Wow.
having babies and all of this. Your generation didn't have to do that.
Mm.
And I thank God for that.
Right.
You know,
Right. Wow.
that you didn't have to jump right dead into it.
Yeah.
I guess that I didn't have to, but I
Yeah.
did.
Mm.
Yeah.
The divorce rate is at an all-time high, and I feel like you have a lot of men out here who are saying that women, they're just not like their mamas and like the previous generation. They don't cook, they don't clean, they don't do all these type of things. Why do you think the divorce rate is so high in comparison to your generation?
Well, it's kind of twofold,
Mm-hmm.
Mel, because you're not your mom,
Right.
and my daughter is not me.
Right.
And I don't expect my daughter to be me. There are things that I do for my husband that I would never expect my daughter to do for her husband.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, that is true.
Like what?
Uh,
Or do you want to say like
I
what?
mean, in all reality, I got my reasons for doing
Yeah.
it. But like if I cook dinner, I would rather go ahead and fix his plate and put it in front of him
Mm-hmm.
than to have him in my way in the kitchen.
Right.
He think it's to be subservient to him, but
Right.
it's to me to keep his behind out
Oh
of
my
my
God.
way. Out of my way in the kitchen. So I
Right.
would rather just go ahead and fix it. In the mornings, we have breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
and I fix his breakfast, I fix his plate, I fix his
Wow.
coffee, and I hand it to him. And
Jesus.
that's because I don't want him in my space in the
Wow.
kitchen. So, and I mean, my daughter is not going to do it for no man,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't fault her for that. And if she did, it would be for the same reason I'm doing, just to keep him out her space.
Right.
That's
Right. So why do you think, like, so with divorce and with these marriages, you know what I'm saying? I feel like back in y'all's day, we didn't hear a lot about so much divorce. Do you feel like that's because you guys kind of had to be together? You kind of had to stay, you had to make it work?
that is true. We
Mm.
were we were bred. We watched our parents. My mother
Mhm.
stayed with her husband the whole while,
Wow.
and I mean, it was locked in our minds that this is what you're supposed to do. You
Wow.
stay with your husband till death do you part,
Mhm. Mm.
and that's what we believed in.
I gotta
And so,
process that because you know what, death do us part. Because I've been divorced once, and death do us part. So y'all took that
mhm,
literally, like y'all really take that literally, like y'all
true.
not leaving. Nothing would make you leave. I mean, obviously harm or abuse, obviously, but like you're sticking through it no matter what because of how you were raised.
No matter what, you know,
Mm.
in marriages, and I'm talking about mine,
Yeah,
you have some good days and you have some bad. And I mean, sometimes they're really bad.
yeah.
But nobody needs to know but you and your old man what y'all going through.
Mm.
And so um you work your way through it.
Wow.
Because there were times when we were young and foolish. He running one way and I'm
Yeah.
running the other. He wanted to fight,
Wow.
but
Mm.
he didn't know he didn't know who he was fighting.
Right.
That's what.
Exactly. Because men don't be. Mm-mm. Oh my
No, because
god.
I've always been a fighter. So,
Right. So he didn't know
so
what he
he
was up against.
no, he did not. He met his
Mm.
match. And so
Wow.
I didn't have too many times with that. But I used to he used to get so angry with me. I knew how I could get him. We had this old car called a Gremlin. And I
Uh-oh.
don't know if you remember, you too young to remember a Gremlin. And he loved that car.
Mm.
And every time I get mad with him, I load the children up in the car
Oh
and
my
I get
God.
out there and I leave the house on two wheels.
Oh my
Oh, he
God.
couldn't stand it. It would drive him slam crazy.
When would you come back?
When I got good and ready,
Oh my God.
maybe the
Wow.
next day, but see, my
Yeah.
mom was here and my sister was here,
Mm.
and I take my children and go spend the night with them till he calmed down.
Oh my God. Wow. And see, y'all had community. I feel like I was talking to my friend last night and I was like, when I was growing up, I feel like y'all was always getting together on the weekends, playing cards, doing all
Yeah,
these things because y'all had community. We do not have that. You know what I'm saying? Like we just don't have that. And I feel like that has a negative effect on our relationships, on our family, and on marriages because there's no sense of community.
yeah.
I hate
You
that.
know, Mel, you got some good people out there, and you
Mhm.
probably got some very, very good friends,
Mhm.
but you have to choose who you're going to allow in your village. Um, and the ones that are in your village, you have to build trust with them.
Mhm.
And that's what makes it work.
Right.
You know, you just can't trust everybody in
That's
your village.
true. Yeah.
So,
Wow. Mm. Okay, so moving right along. Now, this was a very interesting question that someone sent to me. So, she said nowadays women in relationships have to deal with like competing with social media and the fantasy that, there's so many women out there and just, it's kind of easy access to be able to go on Instagram or go on Facebook and find your high school sweetheart or, just talk to somebody in an instant messenger. That's what we deal with. Did y'all have anything in y'all generation similar to that y'all dealt with?
we didn't have that. What we had to join.
Mm.
Um, used to be down on the sound. We went to the beer garden,
Okay.
or it was another club called the Rinky Dink.
Okay. The rinky dink.
The Rinky Dink,
Right.
and that's what we would do,
Mm.
and that's where uh basically most people knew everybody, but every now and then you'd have a gang of ladies from town that would
Mm.
come down there, and then we'd have to keep our eyes open for them trying to mess with our men.
These are the hoochie
And
mamas.
yeah,
The hoochies.
but other than that, I mean, we didn't have the challenges that you guys
Yeah.
have today.
Yeah.
Technology
Mm.
has really got a grip on your
Yeah.
world, your mentality, your almost everything, every aspect of your life. That
Yeah.
technology feeds into there.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's kind of hard. You're just going to have a made up mind
Yeah.
that you're not going to allow this to influence you.
Right.
And technology can come around and spread something about the your loved one.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, you believe in what technology is out there saying about it.
Right. Right.
And then it causes conflict in your relationship.
Yeah.
So you got to learn to have faith in each other and not worry about what technology is
Right.
saying.
Right.
If the rascal is clean and
Mm.
giving you no reason,
Now
giving,
you said something that was so interesting to me. You said, be careful of your surroundings, be careful, of community. We were talking about that. Now, when in my first marriage, I remember in premarital counseling, the pastor said that you should have one couple that you trust to confide in and to tell, kind of I guess kind of like your personal business or to get advice from because you trust them. Do you agree with that?
no,
Really?
um, no, that's what your Lord and Savior is about for you to talk
Wow.
to Him because you don't need to tell nobody.
Really?
No, you do not.
Nobody?
Your no, ma'am, not unless it's absolutely necessary, need to know basis. need to know basis, because I'm telling you, you don't know unless you got a whole lot of trust in this person.
Yeah.
You would have to have life altering trust with this person
Mhm.
before you could divulge your internal stuff. Because I'm telling you,
Really?
people will take that and they will use it against you
Wow.
from
I'm surprised at that
experience.
response. I thought that you would agree with that. So let's make it personal. So in your marriage, who did you go to or confide in when you, I guess, was having, I'm not marital problems, but wanted advice? Or
My
did you go to
sister,
anybody? Your
my
sister.
sister and my mom were the other two, other than God.
Wow. Okay.
Those were the only two that I could trust with marital problems
Yeah.
and stuff that I didn't want to tell somebody else, you
Wow.
know.
Okay. So family. So family? Are you saying family or just
Yeah,
some?
you can trust family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable and trustworthy,
Yeah.
because all family ain't trustworthy.
We
So
know that. We know that. Okay. Okay, so next question. Independent woman bosses, and I feel like you kind of touched on this a little bit, but nowadays you have somebody put in my comments, and I was so angry. Every woman want to be independent. Every woman want to be a boss, and they want to say they don't need a man. And here's something personal. I cannot stand when my brother Sheldon calls me an alpha female. I am not an alpha female because I have a brain and because I have an opinion and you know what I'm saying. Maybe an outgoing personality does not mean that I'm an alpha female. Do you think this whole independent, women being bosses is a positive thing, or do you think that women should scale it back? Like, be honest, especially Black women.
I appreciate any woman in any authoritative position,
Okay.
even in your relationships in your house. A lot of times, Mel, you're in authority, but you got to trick that man to make him think that he was the one that came up with that idea, and it was yours the whole while.
Right.
I mean, you really do. I mean, and that means that you're not making him feel less than a man. He's feeling chest
Mm,
puffed out, like he really already did something, wherein
Jesus.
you were the one that initiated the whole thing.
Wow.
So, um,
Sometimes that's easier said than done, though. Like
it it
sometimes
it
that's easier said than done.
it really is, but you have to maneuver.
Mm,
You got to remember, we can't live without men. We can't live with them.
mm.
But the thing is that if you learn how a man thinks, then you can kind of maneuver yourself around him, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll never know he's being had.
Right, right, right. That's some good advice right there. I hear that a lot from like your generation. Like my mom, she always says that she actually that's her claim to fame is that she would make my daddy think that he came up with the idea, but the whole time she came up with the idea, and it's just like that takes a special skill. I don't know. I feel like it was easier back in y'all day. I feel like it's harder now.
I don't know if it's harder.
Men are different now.
Well, see, I wouldn't know about them
Yeah, yeah,
being
you wouldn't
different.
know. Not in them 59 years. You wouldn't know. A lot has changed. A lot has changed in 59 years. Trust me.
Oh man.
A lot has changed. I don't know. I agree with that. I think that at the end of the day, women are much smarter than men. Don't kill me, but they are. And I feel like it's a healthy balance for a woman to like know she's smarter, but not let the man know
Know
that
that
she's
she's smarter.
smarter. And that's I guess it depends on the man. I guess it depends on the man. That's hard. That is hard.
But it is doable.
It's doable, yeah, but it depends on the man. I feel like it depends on the man, or does it depend on the woman? Hmm. I don't know.
Mm. I would think it would depend on kind of both of them,
Yeah.
because that woman, before she manipulates that man,
Mm-hmm.
has to know him. She
Right.
has to know that man.
Yeah.
Um, you just can't think that you can manipulate some man that you ain't never
Right.
had no dealings with, or
Right.
you don't know his inner workings.
Right.
So you
Mm.
got to know him,
Right. That's true. Which
and
comes
kind
in
of like,
the women being smarter.
there you go, there you
Yeah.
go.
Now you talked about for better or for worse, and that is biblical. We know that. Is that biblical? Is that in the Bible? For better or for worse?
No, but it's in the marriage
Okay, it's in
vows.
a
So
marriage vow. Maybe not in the Bible, but it's in the marriage vow. Okay. So if you're married and your husband has a requirement for sex 3 times a week, do you feel like the woman as a wife should comply?
to be quite honest, there should never be a requirement.
What?
No, sex should be spontaneous. Y'all
Mm.
want to be making love on the roof, in the bathroom, on the
Mm-mm.
kitchen counter.
Oh Lord.
Every
Okay. So is that how y'all got them 59 years? Because y'all was doing all of that? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, my daughter just found out. We were
Oh.
sitting here talking, and so I was telling her about we used to play hide and go seek,
Oh
and she
God.
remembered the hide and go seek. And I tell her why they couldn't find me and daddy, because
Oh
me
my
and daddy
God.
was so we was having us a
Jesus.
good time.
Jesus. Oh my God. So do you think that sex is an important, vital part of a healthy marriage?
It is. It truly is.
Mm.
It's
Jesus.
it's very important. And
Wow.
you can't, to me, I would never have put a limit
Yeah.
or time on when my husband and I
We're
could
intimate, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
No, no, we would never do that. Just spontaneous. Just I mean, like you got children, you can't
Yeah.
just in the middle of that. But there are times
Yeah.
I've been dealing in the refrigerator, and he come along and
Oh
get a hand.
God.
You know,
Lord Jesus, we are getting a earful today. Okay. Wow. So now I'm understanding how y'all made it to them 59 years because y'all was in the refrigerator, on the roof. Okay. Let me make notes of that because maybe I need to start doing the roof because how'd y'all get up to the roof? How in the world y'all get up to the roof? Oh my
because
God. I don't know if I want to know. I don't know if I want to know. What advice would you give to like newlyweds and like newly married couples? Because I feel like you said 10 years, if you can make it through 10 years. Now, transparent, but I've been divorced and two of my brothers have been divorced. And here's the thing, I feel like if you can make it through 5 years, then that's typically like the line. But you're saying 10 years. So like if you could think of like your top advice for someone that's newly married, what would that be?
number one, I think that they need to pray.
Mm.
And number two, pray for each other and pray together.
Mm. Mm.
Um, um,
Wow.
that they need to communicate. Um, one needs to know what the other is doing at
Mm.
all times. They need to know each other's thoughts.
What?
And yes, ma'am.
What you mean? Thoughts? What we're
Thoughts,
doing at all
yes.
times? That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, share. There are
Oh God.
times when things run across your mind that you wouldn't think he would think nothing of. But if you mention it to him, it might have an impact on him. Who
Wow.
knows? Unless you mention it.
Yeah.
Once you mention it and find out that there's an impact,
Mm.
then hey, it would be a good thing.
Wow.
So, and always be a team.
Mm.
Always support each other. Don't allow nobody to tell you nothing about your spouse, and you don't allow nobody to tell you nothing about your spouse. So
Wow.
y'all need to be a team together.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think of anything
Yeah.
else.
That sounds great in a perfect world. I mean, let me just be honest. Like that sounds great in a perfect world. But I'm just be honest, because I know women are out here thinking it. Like communication with men is difficult. Sometimes it's like talking to a brick wall. And communication is the foundation of any healthy relationship. But I feel like it's hard sometimes. Like men, you'll say the sky is blue, but they'll hear go mow the backyard. Like I feel like communication could be just difficult with a man. But you're saying tell him everything. Tell him everything.
No, I ain't say tell them everything.
Maybe not everything. You said your inner thoughts. You said your innermost thoughts.
Yeah, you need, I mean, share stuff with him.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be harmful to share some stuff with
Yeah.
him. I mean, stuff that you know that you can share.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that we as women
Keep to
don't want to
yourself.
tell nobody but our own
Right.
selves.
Right.
So, you don't want to do that.
A lot of my friends and girls that I've been talking to have been like saying that, oh, they go get their oil change, or their man doesn't fix stuff around the house. And I feel like there has been a feminization of men. Like, and let me just be raw right now. My daddy fixed everything, made sure my mama had gas in her car, you know what I'm saying, at all times. He was that stereotypical like manly man in the home. If something is fixed, I mean, if something is broke, then you go to him. If you need gas in the car, go to him. If the car broke down, you go to him. Nowadays, that is not the same situation. Do you think that like men are very different? And I know obviously you've been married for so long, so you wouldn't know as far as dating, but like just from what you see, like are men just so different now when it comes to those gender roles?
I don't think that men pay attention to it, but what I do pay attention to is the fact that we as women are so darn independent
Oh
that
no.
we don't wait on that man to do nothing. We're going to go out and we're going to do it because as old as I am, I do the same thing.
Mm,
I don't, and my husband is a mechanic by trade,
wow.
but come to wash the car, I don't get out and wash it, but I take it to the place and let the people wash it for
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't wait on him to take my car to get it washed. I, if he's driving it at the particular time and it needs gas in it, then he'll gas it up.
Right.
But mostly I have it already gassed up because
Really?
I gas it up. You-
Wow. So
Men
so
don't do
yeah.
like your daddy did for your mother.
What?
No, they don't do that anymore.
But I mean, should we be okay with that though? Uh,
I'm not saying necessarily be okay, but you're going to have to learn manipulation in order to get your man to do these things for you. And it's just like me with like getting grocery out of the car.
mm-hmm.
I've gotten so acclimated to just grabbing the bags and
Wow.
going on up, taking them on in the house
Yeah.
instead of waiting on my husband to take them. He'll gladly take me in the house,
Yeah.
but I don't have the patience to wait on it.
Wow.
So I do it. And I think that's what's happening with most of us women is that we don't have the patience to wait and give that man the opportunity to be the man that he knows that he can be.
You
I think
seem
we fear
sorry, go
that
ahead.
from him.
You seem very pro men. Like you seem very like women like, and I'm gonna be honest. You have said that women, and I guess it goes along with what you said in the beginning, that women have to do this 80% for the first 10 years. Um, which I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that one. But it sounds like, I mean, and this is what I feel like my mom has said, and I'm having a hard time processing this. Like, women typically do more. And you're saying they do more for 10 plus years until they see more on the man's end. That's a lot. That's a lot. And maybe that's why women are getting divorced because they don't have it in them to wait 10 years for a man to
True.
get it right. Like, 10 years is a long time. And even 5 years, 6 years is a long time. But then I look at social media and I look at women out here who are, actively searching for husbands and they're alone. So it's like it goes back like maybe half a loaf is better. You know what I'm saying? Like it's confusing. Like I'm confused.
Well, I still don't feel like half a loaf is better than
but
nothing.
wait, but did you have half a loaf? Well, I hate to say that because I know your husband. But like, if hypothetically, do you feel like you low key had half a loaf for 10 years, and then you got your whole loaf on that 11th year? Now,
No,
be honest.
I think I think you kind of misunderstanding the gravity of the 80-20%.
Okay.
Is that like with 80%, is that when you're going into this marriage,
Hmm.
this man is going to give, but 90% of the time that woman is going to give that 80% and that man ain't going to give a 20.
Mm.
But when he finds that you're giving that 80, then he eventually starts the 25 or
Wow.
75.
Right.
And it starts to
Balance
the
out.
yeah, balancing out. And so
Wow.
I think that I don't think it takes 10 years for it to balance out.
Cause I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about that movie 12 Years a Slave, and I'm thinking like that's what I like. I'm thinking that's all I keep singing in my head is like 12 Years a Slave, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, that's a long time. That's a long time to wait for a man to like. But I guess you're saying that it's not like at 10 years then they flip. It's a gradual. Like you get more and more and more as years are going on.
It that's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah. Wow.
So
So
yeah.
last two questions. So, if you looking at life now, right, and knowing what you know, if you could have done anything different as a wife, as a mother, what do you think you would have done, if anything?
I looked at that question and I really don't see anything that I could have
Wow.
or would have done differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I know that back then William wasn't my only boyfriend. I had more than one,
That's
but
right.
I thought I thought he, I thought that he was the best choice
Wow.
out of out of the other guys.
Yeah.
So in all reality, evidently it didn't do bad.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
for me to have kept him this long, but he
Right.
kept me.
Right.
Whoever kept who?
Y'all seem so happy and like y'all are always having fun. Do you think that's the key? Like that's one of the keys is like being with somebody that you're compatible with and you can have fun with. Because that's one thing that when I was talking to Sharon, I'm like, man, I need somebody who is from a previous generation to come to this episode. And her first choice was Miss Joyce. Like that was her first choice. Like you gotta choose Miss Joyce because like y'all's energy, and I know nothing's perfect, but y'all energy, you just seem like you're happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that like y'all? Do y'all have fun together?
We really do. We
Wow.
really. I mean, there's not a day
Mm,
that I don't get mad with him, and
right.
there's not a day that he don't make me laugh about something.
Oh.
I mean, we always laughing and
Ugh.
joking, and like I say, he makes me angry every day.
Every day.
If,
Lord.
what I call him? The Sour Patch Kid,
I can see that. I can
because
see.
he's sweet as sugar,
Hmm.
and then some days he just as sour as.
Wow. Like most men. Wow. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true.
What's your
So
favorite thing about your husband?
he makes me laugh. He's compassionate.
Oh.
Um, he loves me unconditionally,
Wow.
And it makes me proud to know that he loves me that much, regardless,
Wow.
because I ain't perfect either.
Mm,
And man, I wake up in the morning and sometimes old Arthur be messing with me,
right.
and I'm telling
Me too.
you, some some of the things come out my mouth ain't pleasing. I wouldn't want
Wow.
nobody else to hear 'em.
Right. That is just so, so beautiful. Like, thank you so much for coming. Listen, I know that this is a little bit late for you. We was running a little bit late, but I feel
That's
like
all right.
this is gonna really like. I think it's so important for the narrative that we see out there sometimes is that marriage is so hard and long marriages don't exist, and like this Cosby looking family don't exist. And I feel like it feels great to have someone on the show who has proven that sticking by your man sticking by you, it works if you work it. You know what I'm saying? And almost
Yeah.
60 years in, y'all are still together, happy, making each other laugh, having sex on the roof and in the refrigerator. And listen, I hope Jason does not hear this because I'm not going on nobody's roof. I do not want to do it at all. I am a prude. I'm not doing that at all. But listen, thank you so much for being on the episode. Do you have any closing words before we end the show?
Well, my closing words would be to, any young people that's out there. I mean, just do your whole heart. Do you.
Mm,
Be real.
wow.
Be real.
Right.
And that's all that you can do. Somebody accept you for who and what you are, that's fine. If they don't, let them go.
Let them go. Listen, y'all, thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Joyce, for coming on. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm sure that you've gotten so much out of it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more weekly content. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Miss Joyce, do you have an Instagram or anything you want to promote before we end the show? Are you going to be seen anywhere or doing any performances?
I'm elderly. I don't have no Instagram.
Listen, I give every
Old
guest.
people.
I give. Do you want to give your age or no?
I'm 77.
Wow. Listen, black do not crack. Jesus, Lord Jesus. Listen, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to this week's episode. We will see you next week for episode 3 of our love series, guys. You have a good night.
Good night.